Welcome to the show that undresses interesting subjects in and out of the news, media and life, whilst at the same time wallowing in used steak fries. Now, before we start, I've been asked by the management to ask the audience to refrain from taking photographs and video of the performance. Apparently, inappropriate images have been popping up on Craigslist adult wanted ads and Pornhub seniors. That should be Pornhub seniors, but Hobbs just as good. As the presidential-elect transition team builds a management team of retired army generals in case their esteemed leader starts a pop-up war somewhere, we, the humble undressed in the back room here at Conroy's, will keep calm and undress important and varied subjects such as the American bobsleigh team, that's SLAY, on doping, drugs and cheating, a man punching a kangaroo starts a new sport. How far, in fact, can SNLL go with hitting on the president-elect? Torture, a good and necessary thing. Madman theory, crazy like a Trump fox. Hang on. Who's on the team this evening? Well, there's the magic Dr. Orlando.
Yo.
That indefatigable Kathleen Taylor.
Hello.
The legendary Tyler Durden.
JT, what's good?
What's up? What's up? The Dark Lord of Transylvanian Pheromones, Ivo Ivanov. And without further ado, the first question for our panel. The American bobsleigh team are considering a boycott of championships in Sochi, Russia. How should clean teams deal with all the doping, drugs and cheating in all sports? And when we know for certain that the Russian athletics team were doping, and why should teams of athletes, whether it's winter teams or summer teams, why should they have to put up with this? Why should they compete with people?
First, a question. Bobsleigh?
Yes, Bob is a butcher. Yeah, bobsleigh.
He slays a lot of animals, does he?
SLAY.
Slays a lot of meat.
It's Bob the Slay.
Bob the Butcher,
Bob
who
the
likes
Butcher.
to slay a lot.
Yeah, he likes to slay. It's a sleigh team sponsored by.
All right.
I think,
Therefore you are?
yes. That was a trivia question last week. Anyway, I think that's why we have groups like USADA and WADA. WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency. That's their reason for existence, to try to make sure everybody's playing on a level field.
But they're not.
You can't do bobsleighing on a level field. It just doesn't work very well.
There's also skeletons.
It might be much more interesting that way.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you specifically talking only about teams in the Olympics, or are you talking about athletes?
Well, what caused this was that the American bobsleigh team are saying, look, the competitions in Sochi coming up. Well,
right. And I understand that, but
right.
But when you talk about doping and professional athletes doping, are you talking only about the Olympics, whether or not they should or shouldn't, or are you talking about just all professional athletes in general, even members of like Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL?
Well, what's to be done about it? I mean, it seems...
Well, I ask because there's a big difference, I think.
What's
Really?
the difference?
Why?
The difference is, with the Olympics, there's this belief that it's supposed to be this pure sport and this pure competition, and it's supposed to be this very nationalistic endeavor. Whereas with the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball, it's more local, number one. And number two, it costs like $50 just to get out and watch these people play. And so for that kind of money, and it just keeps going up and up and up, yeah, I want to see them dope the hell out of each other. And I want to see a good game. That's what I want to see.
Oh, there are
But
so
don't you
many
think-
things wrong with that attitude. So many.
But no,
Where to
no,
start?
no. I want to.
If I'm going to fork over all of that money, I want to see the best possible athlete I can. I mean, and I get it that, that's
Sure, if it were only those athletes. But do you know how many kids aspire to that position and will take the drugs and not get there and be completely screwed up for the rest of their lives because of it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's the argument that I would make. Let me ask a question. Like, doesn't it cost more to get in to watch the Olympics? Like, if you want to go to an Olympic event,
but that happens once every 4 years.
Yeah, but still,
but
isn't the cost like Isn't the cost like an orders of magnitude greater?
Not necessarily.
No,
If you had season tickets to, say, the Royals and the Chiefs over a 4-year period, that amount's going to be more than what you would pay just for one trip to the Olympics.
Oh, okay.
But the bottom line I'm getting at is if you take someone like LeBron James, right, who was pretty well known 5 years ago, let alone now, right? And oh dear,
Someone's threatened.
So, and we discover that this guy has been taking some sort of drugs, right? So he gets banned for a month or 3 months. Or maybe if he's been a really, really naughty boy, he might get banned for the season.
Well,
right?
the thing is,
I'm wanting to know what would happen if he was banned for life.
Athletes already take all kinds of drugs already. They already take substances that are just, you can't detect them yet because they're always allowed. One step or allowed. But they're taking drugs and medications that are basically they're just not testing for them
Jen,
yet.
I'll take another
They
one.
haven't figured out how to get them yet or how to test for them and detect them yet. But I guarantee you, athletes, still to this day, it doesn't matter, baseball, basketball, football, they're probably taking something. It's just that the organization and the league, whatever league it may be, just says you have to catch up with them.
So, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to back up for just a second. The reason that I hesitated with the children looking up to the athletes
taking
argument.
drugs themselves.
Well, if you become decent in any sport, like you're going to be propositioned on whether or not you want to take these drugs, and it's not going to be by other people. It's going to be by your coach. It's going to be by like the people that are responsible for you being in the sport. It's not just a, hey, I'm going to be a top-notch baseball player. Maybe I should investigate these steroids or whatever performance-enhancing.
Yeah, but my point is that kids with ambitious parents would be taking this sort of stuff before they even found out whether they were going to be good athletes. And,
yes, that's my point.
And that could really mess up a kid's life.
Okay, but that I would put on the parent.
Right.
That's who's the
but
person
if they don't have the
responsible.
incentive, then it wouldn't happen.
But even if you take today's organizations of sports, and basically there's no drugs allowed, doping is just not allowed. There are still parents who push their children and basically rob their child of a childhood because parents try to live vicariously through their children.
Okay, and maybe it's not for us to control. But there is another aspect. I mean, when are we going to draw the line between drugs and bionic implants?
Well, I mean, there's so many things that are coming up right now in terms of advancements in performance-enhancing drugs. The Chinese, as we know, they've been working really, really hard on genetic doping.
Thank you.
And genetic doping is not going to be detectable for a long, long time. It basically, and they're making it right now. The first one to make genetic doping was a German scientist who published. He produced a drug that actually tells your DNA. It changes your DNA to produce more red blood cells, which, as you know, carry more oxygen to the muscles and does give you an unfair advantage. So he published this in a scientific...
I didn't know that, Ivo. I'm just here to look pretty. So.
but he published this in a scientific journal.
And for a white guy, you do look pretty, I have to say.
I would agree. I mean, let's be real.
Because he published it because he was working on developing cure for anemia. And so the next day after this was published, he was in shock. And you can go and Google this guy and you will find out exactly what he's saying about it. He was in shock because there was an avalanche of messages to his office from athletes. Not coaches, athletes who are asking for themselves to have that drug tested on them. Then, there was the Schwarzenegger mouse. You might have heard about the Schwarzenegger mouse. And that's another treatment that the guy that was experimenting on the mouse, and the mouse became just extremely muscular in no time because
Did he develop an Austrian accent?
He actually developed a drug that stimulated the production of male hormones, testosterone, in the mouse, but very rapidly. So the mouse became actually muscular, comically muscular, and so he was also showered with messages about providing it. So there's
Mighty
a lot
Mouse.
of stuff happening, that's not going to be detectable, and it's going to be a nightmare. I suggested a long time ago, let's have Olympics for clean athletes, an Olympics for people that are willing to take stimulants, because when the field is leveled, we'll have everybody taking the same drugs, and then the medals can be given to Roche or to the Pfizer, to the pharmaceutical companies. They'll get gold medal just like the car manufacturers. The Mercedes gets a title along with the pilot who wins the manufacturers get. So the manufacturers of the drugs will also get a title for most successful drugs.
But then the clean Olympics would be a complete joke.
Well,
because
also,
it wouldn't be
not
clean
necessarily
people.
true.
How would you determine whether somebody's clean or not?
It would be. I mean, you don't have to. If you wanna. Yeah, you're right, though. You're right, because we now have athletes that are able-bodied athletes that cheat to get to the Special Olympics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We did a thing on the radio a while back about the Russian and
Russian
the
program.
the guys being outed. And
Oh, God.
the question I asked was, how should clean teams, right, people
Deal.
who are clean, how do they deal when they know that they're up against people who have, if they're not taking drugs, or at least working with people who do, how should they do it? Do they say, I'm not going? Or the fact that they've trained and trained for years and years and years?
Yeah, it's a.
What do they do, Ivo?
It's a
What do you
lose-lose
think?
situation. I mean, the only thing you can do is boycott and not go, knowing that they're cheaters there, because you have no chance to compete against the cheaters. But that's
but
a
doesn't
kind of.
that-
But then you don't. You've trained all of your life for
Well,
this, and then you don't go.
What would you
so
say?
You lose again.
What would the response be if I asked you this question on TV in Bulgaria, for example? Would they have a different response to us? Because we haven't actually answered the question.
First of all, you would have much better boobs.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
I'd be much
but,
better looking, darling.
With the Russians, it's a very good question because it was discovered. I have a question. What would you do if you are holding a position in a company and there's 3 other guys that hold the same position and they start dying every week?
Right.
This is what happened in
They
Russia.
die every week?
Every week, one of them dies, and you're the last one left.
Right.
So within the span of 3 weeks, everybody
I
that
think
has
there's some
your
sort of investigation into you, isn't there?
everybody's healthy, and suddenly they start mysteriously dying, and it's your turn. Well, that happened in Russia with the chiefs of the drug program. There was an enormous,
Really?
massive conspiracy that is just mind-boggling. What they did in Sochi during the Winter Olympics to secure most gold medals. It's you have to go and read about Room 206 and all this madness that happened there. But what happened was the chiefs of the anti-doping agency of Russia started dying out. They were healthy, they were strong, that mysteriously, boom, boom, boom. The last one, Evgeny Rodchenko, ran exactly what I would have done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where did he run, Ivo?
I think in England, and he ran and immediately started singing. And he uncovered the entire operation in the anti-doping laboratory in Sochi. What was happening was insane. There was a closet that was adjacent to the testing room where they
That's
were
how they
bringing
found
the
it out. I
samples.
didn't realize how they found it because
Yeah.
they had the informant who was scared of dying.
Oh yeah, and he gave
Cool.
every little minuscule detail of exactly the logistics of how they had a hole behind a cabinet. They would move the cabinet, give the samples to somebody through the hole. He
Yeah.
would rush it, replace the urine with a healthy athlete's urine. No, the same person's urine, but taken before, like months and months before the Olympics. So
Jeez.
it was just so elaborate, intricate. It was government sponsored. It was massive, and this is why the Russians, the track and field team was banned. The bobsled team, the Russian bobsled team, who was ranked way, way, way down, won the gold medal in these Olympics, and they were implicated directly into this scandal. And
So
this
what
is
should
why
the
our-
American team do? Should they say no,
Well-
or yes, or what?
Well, it is complicated, and it's a question that probably doesn't have an answer. What the U.S., the United States Federation does is kind of gutless and spineless because they are afraid to take a strong stance on this. So what they say, what the U.S. Federation says, we are against any blanket boycotts of any big sporting event. But what are the guys to do? Our bobsledding team, who are clean, supposedly clean, and they're about to compete against those people that are definitely have been taking stimulants. So, and also they're worried about information security. The Russians hacked the United States Anti-Doping Agency just last week.
Oh, really?
And stole data and stole medical data of athletes. And this year, the scandal with Serena Williams and all that stuff. It's a very, very touchy subject. On some level, you want to boycott and say, I'm not going. I don't want to compete against cheaters. On another level, you've been preparing all your life for this. So
how about some more drastic punishments for people who are caught?
But that's
Wacky's
not
pee-pee?
something that the team
no,
can do.
more than that.
More
If
than
they're a runner, cut off their foot.
yeah,
You know?
I had like if you're
Seriously.
if you participate in javelin throwing,
Yeah.
they'll enter you into alternative discipline called javelin catching.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Well, when we talk about alternative, this leads me on to my next question. I think that everybody has seen the ultimate video on Facebook of a man punching a kangaroo to save his dog.
That was funny.
The kangaroo had got hold of one of the dogs and has got him in a headlock.
He did.
Dog
He actually
couldn't-
had him in a headlock.
Yeah,
as if he
the
was
dog
wrestling.
couldn't escape, and so the guy gets up to the kangaroo, and he manages to pull the dog loose. The kangaroo gets up on his hind legs. The guy backs off. The kangaroo puts his paws up, or whatever they call kangaroo feet, something. And so the guy, who's a zookeeper, by the way, who wrangles elephants, as it happens, for a job,
It's hard to pin those
he
guys.
sucker punches the kangaroo.
Yes.
Right?
That's the
and
only
the
way to punch a
kangaroo cannot believe it, right? The kangaroo sort of takes a step back and goes, bloody hell, mate.
I'd like to hear that.
Now, we have MMA, right? The new mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
And it's done, cage fighting and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I say this is an excuse for an extremely good, brand new sport, a genuine sport. Man against Roo. And it's boxing, kicking, right? Because Roos kick, right?
Yeah. They kill people every year.
And they kill. Yeah, this
they
is
take you
serious
apart.
stuff, right? And so your favourite guy, what's his name? Your mixed martial art guy, who
Conor McGregor?
Conor McGregor. Put him up against a 3-year-old Roo anytime, and I want to see what happened. I think it could be called KRB, kangaroo boxing. And what do you think, Evo? New sport?
Well,
Very popular, lots of
you're
money?
weirdly close to the truth, actually, because the main competitor for Conor McGregor, the man who everybody says will probably beat him, is Russian from the Caucasus Mountains. And this dude, we watched him with Neil very, very recently. He's freaking beast. This guy is incredible. And after the fight, he proclaimed, "You bring your chicken. He's afraid to fight me. Bring the chicken to fight me."
Oh, that guy, yes.
And he's really, I think Conor McGregor is afraid to fight him. He is a beast. And you know what he does? Since he was a child, and I'm not making this up, he had a bear cub, was given to him by his father. And these people in the Caucasus are weird. They're crazy people. They're like nobody ever in the
Grown up
world.
beating
Dude,
up on
he
a deer
just
bear
said-
cub?
He's wrestling with the freaking bear all his life to this day. And you can see on YouTube footage of this idiot wrestling with this giant freaking bear and doing moves. And the bear's doing moves and doing like holds, scissor chokes, and bizarre stuff with a freaking giant bear. And
So
this
you
is the
think
man-
this guy could take on a Roo?
Well, I don't know about kangaroo. That's different. With kangaroos is different because kangaroos are punchers. Bears are definitely more of a grapplers. So with the kangaroo, you're in trouble.
doesn't have a ground game, is what you're saying.
If you're able to bring the kangaroo down, if you're on the ground with the kangaroo, you'll be able to
No,
win.
you'd be arrested if you're on the ground. We don't do that.
Yeah,
no, we're not
but-
talking about that.
but
no
the
sex
Well,
with
suppose
kangaroos.
you get on his
don't wanna
back and
get
just,
into a punching
ride
matchup
it.
with a kangaroo. I mean, they're incredible punchers. Also, the famous kicks. As they live.
Well, this is what I was thinking, you see.
Yeah.
This is your mixed martial art, right? You've got everything in it. Kickboxing, works. You know,
It would be the best show ever. By the way, we had a show when we talked about Kobayashi, the incredible
Japanese
competitive eater.
Oh,
He's
I thought
the
it was
ultimate
steak.
champion. You know that he's basically for many, many years until Joey Chestnut, the great Joey Chestnut, showed up. He was
I
untouchable.
don't know if I'd call him great.
Yeah, he was untouchable. I mean, this was the standard. You know about the Kobayashi method, and you know he actually.
Hold on, Kath is a little confused.
No, I've heard about
He
the
knows
competitive
she
eating
knows about
before.
it. But he
I
actually
know,
competed.
and I threw up before. I can do it again.
He competed against a half-a-ton Kodiak bear, and you can also see this
Eating?
Eating. You can also see this on television, and it's absolutely incredible. And you saw kind of greatness, because
This is, and if you want to catch it, it's on
Greatness.
Bulgarian channel 73.
Oh my God, what is wrong with our
morning.
species?
You
What
witness
is wrong with
greatness.
human beings?
What are you saying? What's
you're
wrong?
a messed
Did
up
you just not
mofo.
hear
Yeah.
that? He beat a bear.
No, he couldn't.
That's still-
he
I don't
couldn't beat
care,
the bear.
man.
No, the bear was.
bear won?
Oh, the bear won
Well,
with
hell
such
yeah, it's a
incredible
bear.
ease. And
Really?
you saw the birth of a great champion.
Bears
right in
don't
front of
chew,
your eyes.
right?
Because that freaking bear annihilated the greatest competitive eater in the history of mankind. Just
Right.
annihilated him without any effort. There was like a sense of effortless.
What were they
grace
eating?
With the way hot dogs.
Hot dogs?
Enormous amount of
In
hot
the
dogs.
buns?
We're talking a mountain of hot dogs. That bear. Then, guys.
Oh my God.
There was another Man versus Beast, the competition. But this was great. This was track and field.
You know, they should just start a new version of Man versus Wild
Yeah.
with Bear Grylls. That show, they should just cancel that and go Man versus Wild, man like actually versus
Yes.
wild animals.
We are
this is
joking.
what I'm getting at,
You
you
know,
know.
this is
People
kind of
would watch the
inevitable.
hell out of that.
Yeah, this is kind of inevitable. We had one of the greatest sprinters of our era. God, what was his name? If
Joe.
I knew, I would have prepared. I will remember his name by the end of the show. But he competed 100 meters versus a giraffe.
Really?
Yes.
Who won?
Well, the giraffe
Did the giraffe
was
know
confused.
it was computed?
No,
No,
the giraffe. The first time, giraffe was confused and lost. The second time, and didn't even try to run. The second time, the giraffe realized what's happening, or they stimulated somehow the run, and just freaking annihilated one of the best sprinters in the world. Just killed him. Of course, animal rights activists said this was horrible, but it was very, very well watched. I mean, there was a giant audience.
I want to see a man compete against
Man
a
versus
cheetah,
beast.
and if he loses, he gets eaten.
Well, or Phelps versus a great white.
Okay. Okay.
That's also kind of, you don't have to motivate the great white.
Yeah,
He's
but at
gonna
the
eat
end
you
of the
up.
day, Phelps against the Great White, Phelps is going to get eaten. What I'm getting at is this boxing thing. This video inspired me,
Yeah.
because you can
That-
see that the
no.
guy whacked the kangaroo, and the kangaroo is thinking, I'm not sure whether I can take this guy or not. But initially,
No,
after the
that's
guy's
not what the
whacked him,
kangaroo was thinking
the
at all.
kangaroo was going, what the fuck?
Yes.
What just happened?
Yeah, Sean Crawford. Sean Crawford was the name of the sprinter. That's right. No, but you're right. The kangaroo, though, the key was, you said it yourself, sucker punch. That's the only way to punch a kangaroo, because obviously your reflexes, your speed, sending a signal that you're coming at the kangaroo, is gonna be a losing proposition. But sucker punching the kangaroo, that's the way to go. And kudos, the guy used the right strategy and won.
Because kangaroos can use their rear legs as well, can't they?
Oh yes,
So that's
in a
the
bad way, and they
That's
have
the
claws
nasty part.
on it that they can
Hell
rip
yeah.
you
Sure.
apart.
Because they don't do their
Yeah.
nails.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
No.
They'll rip you to shreds, pick up the shreds and put it in their pouch
Yeah.
and carry it
It's
around
sort of
for
like
later.
fighting against
Literally.
Wolverine,
It's not
right?
sanitary.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's
not
not.
nice. Here, look,
Okay.
President-elect Trump got very upset with Mr. Baldwin. Saturday Night Live. When does the show go too far in its satire? Too far, I ask. Hitting on the president-elect. There isn't a point, you Americans, my fellow Americans, when you're hitting on the position of president. When the president walks into the room, everybody gets up. Doesn't matter what you think of the president, everyone gets up.
I'd get up. I'd run. You have to get up to
does
run.
there come a point when Saturday Night Live goes too far?
I think this situation is unique because of the things that Trump said and did during the campaign. That pretty much just opens the door to he kind of opened Pandora's box himself, and basically making Saturday Night Live whatever they want to do. There's nothing they could do or say that would be worse than what Donald Trump did and what he said himself during the campaign.
That's a good point.
So they have every right, in my opinion, to do whatever they want to do. If Donald Trump had been respectful in the campaign, then yeah, you could argue maybe there's a line they're going to cross. But at this point, I say it's wide open.
But I don't see what line they're crossing. This is one of the most.
Yeah, I don't either.
This is one of the most American things, uniquely American traditions that I'm proud of. Making fun of the president. If you want to live in a country that doesn't satirize the president, go to Iraq, go to Afghanistan, go to North Korea. But this is America. This is what makes America fantastic.
Yeah, it's called the First
Amendment, the ability to speak. And I have never seen, if anything is shocking about this, is this thin-skinned, pathetic and
You don't
what's the
need
right word?
satire. You just need to read out his tweets.
A character so insecure. Imagine if George W. I can't believe I'm saying this. I have a newfound respect for George W. If he had gone crazy about every time Will Ferrell was making fun of the village idiot, he would have committed suicide if he had the thin skin that Trump had. What about Bill Clinton? What about gosh, they took him apart.
They've been doing that since day one. I can remember Chevy Chase being Gerald Ford and falling over all the time.
Exactly.
And, I mean, they've been doing this since day one.
So, and it's funny you say that because, like, when Jeremy posed the question, like, I immediately disagreed with his question because he stated that that we are making fun of the office, and there has been absolutely no point in the history of Saturday Night Live where they've made fun of The Office, and I think that that's possible. I don't know how it would look. But then you answered, my friend, and all of a sudden I disagreed with you as much as I disagreed with Jeremy, because I worry very seriously that this is the net effect of Trump, to really lower the discourse, to have this notion that everything is fair game because Trump did it. And I think that we see that more so in the Republicans than we do in ourselves. But I think there is a point where the humor can go too far. But I also don't think that what SNL has done comes anywhere near it. I think that what they're doing is what their job is to do, which is to poke fun at institutions and folks that are supposed to be institutionalized.
More of the characters' deficiencies of the people that represent that institution, of their deficiencies. They poke fun at them, not as much as the institutions, and they've been doing this since Nixon, and that's their job, and they're doing a good job. Mm-hmm. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good, but that's what they're supposed to do. And if they stop doing it, that's when we gotta take to the streets. Because that would really endanger everything that this country stands for.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So,
But if the president can go against Time magazine because he perceives that they have deliberately put a photograph in such a way that the M looks like he's got horns.
It was just hiding his horns.
Or he goes against Boeing because the chief executive of Boeing says something he doesn't like very much. And by the way, Boeing doesn't charge for the aeroplane, which
they don't make money off of it.
They don't make money off it. Yeah. So I just wonder, is there a point where we might suddenly find, as we did with Hitler and various other people, that it's dangerous to say something about Trump? Could there come a point?
That's a different question than what you just asked.
Is it that a comedian, Baldwin, suddenly finds he gets run over by an SUV?
Well, that, for me, and this is just my opinion, is a call to arms, that we need to band together as a society and look at what we can do to address this horrible despot that's become our president. But that doesn't affect what Saturday Night Live is able to say and do about poking fun at the person who might be engaging in that activity. And I think that those are two very, very separate things.
It's interesting that he doesn't go again. He doesn't go after the numerous websites and fake news manufacturing entities that have actually produced lies, blatant lies, and can actually damage the fabric of this country.
He goes after them, but it's in order to hire them.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's absolutely correct.
Instead, he collects New York Times and CNN and scolds them, North Korean style.
Well, honestly, I think
about criticizing him.
I think you hit on it. I mean, I think even though at the moment you were like, I'm not really sure if this is a good word, but I think actually you hit it right on the head. You talk about the most insecure individual I've ever seen become our leader. It's just frightening. It is frightening. And I honestly, I'm not calling him Hitler, but I've not seen a leader, just a global leader, be so insecure as Adolf Hitler until Donald Trump came along.
He really knows his limitations, and he knows they are severe.
That,
he doesn't
actually,
have the
opposite of that
attention
is
span
what scares
to cope
me,
with stuff.
that he doesn't know his
Well, he's
limitations.
overcompensating.
Yes.
There's something else also. He tends to repeat whatever the last person in the room said and tends to adopt this as his point of view. So I wonder at some point, and you might have thought about this, like a general comes to him and says, we need to bomb this country, like most generals do. I mean, generals, they like war. And for them, the most reasonable solution is the use of force. And he will be the guy that, most presidents probably would think a million times before doing it. He would be the guy that's, let's go.
He'd be like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Especially if someone comes up to him and says, look, here's the deal, President Trump. If you really want to boost the economy, go to war, because wars always help economies get out.
But it's not true anymore.
It's not true anymore, but that's what they will tell him. They'll say, look at how we got out of the Great Depression. We started World War II, or we got involved in World War II.
But it plunged us into a great recession.
It did, but see, that's not what they'll tell him.
Even worse, okay? I really think that they might impeach Trump because of accepting money from, benefit to his family. He's already done it.
No.
Who's going to
Okay,
Well,
so this
they
is
might
one of the...
if they get.
But who's
going to
do it?
They'll do it because the
But
person,
who's they?
the whole Congress, because the person who would take over would be Pence,
Okay, so...
and he's
this
even
is-
worse as a person.
He's the villain from Avatar.
This is a thing in the news this week that has angered me, probably more so than any story that I've heard since Trump announced that he's running. This notion that Trump is somehow morally bankrupt or morally corrupted or subject to prosecution for accepting money for a personal gain. Every time I hear this story, everybody puts this caveat in the front that what Trump is doing is absolutely legal. And then there's a clause apparently in the Constitution that allows the president to accept money and accept gifts. Allows an exemption that other federal employees do not have. And every story that I've heard about this particular issue starts off first two sentences by saying what Trump is doing is not illegal. And then they proceed to spend an hour talking about all the stuff that will happen to him for doing this thing that is legal. And it's...
Now, there's a clause specifically in the Constitution to say that presidents are not allowed to accept emoluments.
The emolument clause is in what, and I actually meant to print this out because I've literally heard it 10 times this week. The emoluments clause is the thing that's going to get Donald Trump impeached. But the exemption to the emoluments clause is specifically for the president and the vice president. And it's like, I'm not...
Isn't there a certain value, value on that?
No. In fact, the one place that I heard mention the rationale for why there is no dollar value on what can or can't be accepted explained. Thank you. Yes, this is the emoluments clause. I just got handed by our engineer the emoluments clause. But this is not the exemption for the president. There is an exemption specifically for the president.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
For the president and the vice president. And it is specifically designed because the president and vice president should not be able to concentrate on personal gain during their presidency. That was the reason for, and again, doesn't make sense to me, but this is what the law says. And if that's true, the notion that we're going to somehow invalidate this exclusion for Trump, even if we agree that, even if everybody at this table, even if the entire Senate agrees that Trump is a greedy bastard who has no real right being president, if there's an exclusion that says this is completely legitimate for the president to do, then wouldn't Trump be an idiot for not doing it?
I don't know. I mean, it's also not illegal not to pay taxes, and it looks more and more like he never paid taxes for like the last 10 years, right? He hasn't paid taxes, and it's just a matter of your moral compass and doing the right thing, and doing the thing that everybody in this country is basically doing for the good of the country. Mm-hmm. And there's your leader, the executive, the ultimate executive, not doing this, just focused on personal gain. And I mean, the message it sends is just absolutely horrible.
I don't agree. I mean, I agree. I don't disagree.
But it's not illegal. I know. He cannot be impeached for it. I see what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Tell me, it has been discovered that a nuclear weapon, in a briefcase, a small nuclear weapon has been found in New York. It can't be moved for whatever reason. It's dirty. It's going to have at least a 10-mile radius,
Feel the torture
kill
question
radius. Torture can be a good and necessary thing. Say half of adult Americans. What say the panel?
Half of adult Americans have below the median intelligence.
Oh my goodness.
Honestly,
That's the definition of median intelligence.
I can't really give a yes or no answer, because if I had a child and my child were kidnapped and somehow I got the hands on the person who kidnapped my child, but they refused to tell me where my child was,
Yeah.
what's to stop me? I can't say that I wouldn't torture that person to get
And
that
they would tell you
information.
whatever you wanted to hear.
I can't say yes or no, is torture good or bad, because
Yeah, just bring...
I've never been pushed to that brink where I wanted to use torture. So, and I can't say that I wouldn't ever be there, because, again, I don't know. Because maybe a situation like that would occur where that's my last resolve, is to do that, to try and get the information to save my child.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and we're definitely liberals here on this panel, but my goodness, it depends on the scenario.
Yeah,
and
it
that's
really
the scenario,
does.
bring on the jumper cables, and it's on.
Bust out your testicles, buddy, because we're going to town. We're having fried
but
balls for dinner.
I argue with the people who say, well, you would get the information that way. You wouldn't. You'd get whatever it took to make you stop.
Oh,
They'd
I
tell
don't
you
know.
whatever they had to, whatever you wanted to know, whether it was the truth or not, whatever it took to get you to stop the torture.
If you know that person knows where the nuclear device is...
And so they tell you it's in the bus stop at so-and-so, and you stop torturing them for a while.
Yeah, and you go and check, and it's not in the bus stop.
And then you tell them somewhere else, and they stop torturing you for a while.
No, you tell them, a finger's coming off
and
if
what
it's
do you
not
know?
there.
What if they don't know where it is?
Well, but if you know that it's them, it's that person.
You don't know that.
Wow. Yeah.
This is always one
It's
of
a
the things
scenario.
that
It's hypothetical.
it's
can go-
always annoys me, because we have this tendency to do the Jack Bauer 24 scenario. That
there's been so
That's
many shows
all
like that.
just
Yeah.
made up stuff.
It's all made up, and like we've got the experts telling us this doesn't work.
Yeah.
But because
Believe them.
we've either been parents or had parents at some point, we understand the nature of a threat and how that cowed us into doing something that we might not have wanted to do, or been able to convince our kids to confess to something that they've done. So we think that that'll work as a universal. And
Do you think waterboarding your children is okay?
if they broke my grandmother's vase. No.
Wait.
Well, it's funny. We literally
You can
have
go
grown,
ahead, boy.
as a society, we've grown past the point where we think corporal punishment for our kids is okay. But we've been told by the experts, the folks that are actually doing the torture, that this doesn't work. But everybody wants that out. Everybody wants the ability to say, in case of, chemical warfare, I get to pull the other guy's fingernails out until he comes up with the answer to our problem.
I am out on the fact that I was abused when I was a child at boarding school. The guy that was involved with that, the headmaster principal here in America, is dead.
Good.
And,
what did you do?
And that's good news.
How did you do
Now,
it?
at the age I am today, if he wasn't dead, and say he was, 40 and I was 40,
And he walked here into the bar here.
I would be in real difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
I would be in real difficulties. I would be thinking if I jump on this guy and pound him into the ground, I'm going to be thrown out of the country. And so I'd ask one of you guys to do it.
I do it.
Yeah.
Take him right out at the knee and go to work.
But
I'd
that's
use the
not.
scissors,
But that
effectively.
isn't the question I'm asking. The question I'm asking is, you are the president or the governor or whoever it is, and one of your guys comes walking in, the head of the whatever, and says, "We found the guy. We know it's him, right? And he's laughing at us, right?" And he says, and they say, "Well, there's a code," and he goes, "Yep, and I'm not going to tell you what that code is."
If it means saving millions of lives of my citizens, yeah, I'm going to torture that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all the dramatic stuff. That doesn't
No,
happen.
but Kathleen, the question is, what do you do in real
This is a
life?
hypothetical.
This doesn't
he gave you
happen
the,
in real life.
well,
It's no use asking, what do you do in real life
anything
in a
can happen.
made-up situation? It's not a real situation.
it can happen. It's not
no.
science fiction. It can happen.
You don't know
Just play
that
the game.
somebody's guilty. This is
But he
this
told
is a
you,
game.
you know. He
It's
told
a
you.
game.
Well, yeah. Well,
This is
play the
kinda-
game.
This
Tell
is
us what
real
you
life
do.
is not a
What do you
game.
do in the game?
You don't torture people.
Yes, you do. Here's
No,
what I
you
will do.
don't.
Here's what I will do. I put on Beats by Dr. Dre on that guy and pump One Direction music until he sings. He starts singing. He'll tell us everything. One
Okay.
Direction on a loop.
Okay, that's
I just put on the
that's all right.
Barney
Yeah,
video
that'll
and just
do.
on repeat.
That might kill him real fast.
Oh, that's valid. Yeah.
Let's
Might
go
be too
for our
much.
last question here tonight. Madman theory, crazy like a fox? Does this describe our president-elect? Now stop and think about this, folks.
Stop, collaborate, and listen.
Although half of the voters, in fact more than half of the voters, voted for Hillary Clinton, the other half voted for President-elect Trump. Fact of life, that's what happened. He now decides that he wants to put China in her place by talking to Taiwan, but yet is appointing ambassador to China a guy close to him, a friend, and a guy who's close to China. He wants to go to visit his new friend, Russia's Putin.
You say new friend?
Even talk to North Korea. Churchill said, Americans always do the right thing after they tried everything else. Is Trump actually, in some ways, following this by doing the unconventional?
You mean he's doing the everything else first?
Yeah, he's done it. What I mean is, we've done everything else. What happens if someone goes and plays up to Putin and makes friends with Putin? And says, I want to be friends with you. You fuck with me, I'll kill you.
Then we all
but I
start
still
learning
want to be
Russian.
friends with you.
It's easy.
He's
Now, come on, answer the question.
He's
It's
throwing
a
away.
really
Well,
interesting
Honestly,
question.
okay,
You're
to give you an
giving him too
answer.
much credit.
Okay, if you watch 60 Minutes
Yeah.
on Sunday, Paul Ryan was talking about how Trump, he was an unconventional campaign and he will be an unconventional president. I completely agree with that. Unconventional is a nice way to put
Yeah.
a different adjective that
Yeah.
I'm thinking of. But,
Yeah.
but you could, I'm trying to give you a positive spin on your question, Jeremy. You could say that perhaps Trump will not only be an unconditional or an unconventional president, but he will cause the other leaders of the world to be unconventional and maybe have to adjust their views and how they deal with everybody else.
And could that turn out to be actually a good thing?
Honestly, there is a chance. I'm not going to say no, it's not, that is impossible. I will say there is a chance. Do I have a lot of faith in that chance? No. But there's a chance, no matter how small. But again, I think a lot of people on this planet would say no.
Evo said no. Why?
Well, we're giving him too much credit. We've, at this point, we are very familiar with this man, with his vocabulary, with
All
his
three words.
with his intellectual capacity. I'm also very, very familiar with his temperament and with his incredible laziness.
Agreed.
Laziness
Big
that
time.
is staggering.
Yeah.
And we saw this at his preparation for the Hillary debates. We saw how incredibly lazy he is. And I think he's just that. And after he does something stupid because of lack of preparation and not doing homework, because I don't think he's done homework even in school, we tend to give him credit and start analyzing his genius moves.
Not only that, he
No.
will always blame other people, and then there are certain people in this country, they're just basically sheep.
Yeah.
They'll just sit there and follow whatever he says without thinking, oh my God, that can't be right. I actually have to look and find out for myself.
Yeah.
It's just frightening.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the strategy of never apologizing for his stupidity, for his stupid
Do
moves.
something
And never
even
even answering
stupider and take
questions
the
during the
focus off of
debates.
it.
No.
Never fully answering a
No,
question.
he didn't know anything.
No.
He didn't know. He had an opening statement, and then he just it was nothing there. There was nothing
And
there.
therefore no press I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. These rallies, these campaign rallies
Or
that
the
Trump is still doing.
post-campaign rallies. Yeah.
Who is paying for them?
Now this is a very interesting question, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Who's paying for this? Because this is not a
Common
campaign
sense. Common sense is paying.
It's
big,
you can't
big
pay,
price.
You can't use
Big
your,
league.
your
Big
campaign
league.
funds for post-election rallies.
Can't do that. So
He wouldn't pay for it.
So
Who's
pays
paying for
who's
it?
Paying for it?
It's those victory tours. I don't know.
Maybe we should ask the people at Nuremberg, because that sounds kind of familiar, having little rallies for yourself all the
victory,
Yeah, it does, doesn't
victory
Yeah.
triumphs. The Roman emperor had a triumph after a win.
My thought is that's only going to be interesting once the crowds turn on him. Like, let's revisit that question in a year and a half to 2 years once he has proven that he's not going to do half the shit that he said during his campaign, and the 35 million folks that voted for him are now hating him. Then we ask the question of, where did all this money come from?
No, I want to know now.
No,
Is he
I get it.
stiffing the government
Well,
for
no,
the cost
no,
of
No,
his
no.
parties?
Shall we waterboard him?
I mean, he
Well, that is the one exception I would make.
Kath, donations are pouring for him now. There's his
What?
foundation,
Well-
the Koch brothers. They famously said we're not going to give him any money. I am sure that at this point there's
After the
streams.
election?
Oh yeah.
They can't
For
deduct
his-
it now.
For his
It's not a
He's
deduction
got a
now, it's a
foundation.
deduction. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You're talking about a man who hasn't paid taxes in a decade. Do you really think he cares?
All right. They're just currying favor. They're paying for him
Oh, yeah.
to do stuff so that they can get favors from the
Oh,
president.
Exactly.
they'll gladly finance his rallies.
And do you know
his
another
triumph.
thing? Not a lot of people know this, but Trump Force One is a Boeing,
How dare he?
and so why doesn't he turn around and say, well, you know what, I've already got an aeroplane. They just need to put a few of the bits and pieces from the old one on mine. We're done.
Well,
And that means in 4 years' time, he can
He-
turn around
he
and
is
say it didn't
not-
cost the country anything.
Well, think about this. You talk about
Big
costing the
league.
country something. The fact that he wants to split time between Trump Towers and the White House, annually, that will cost us $10 billion annually.
So
And
Well,
yet,
so
Was
like
that
that- like
with a
that's
mer
allowed?
or a burr?
yeah, it's allowed. He's gonna do
buh.
it.
Burr.
No.
Well,
as
He's
in
gonna
booger.
do it. Like what's
He's allowed.
What are we gonna do?
He's allowed
and
what?
this is
He's allowed, but as taxpayers,
He's a
that's what
loud
that
fool?
costs us.
But-
But this is the man who sat there and campaigned about how he's going to make it better, fix the economy for people, and ensure that we are able to keep our own money and make taxes better for people. Look what he's doing. He's just robbing us left and right.
I haven't had a chance to answer the crazy like a fox question yet.
Would you,
Yes.
please?
Okay.
Lewis?
I think that a broken clock is right twice a day, and it is entirely possible that Trump can sneak up on the
Yeah.
a good solution.
every
to-
once in a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every once in a while.
So
Did hell freeze over?
I don't think he's going to do it twice a day.
Okay, twice a day is probably a bit much.
So
How
you're
about
saying the Boeing thing is
I
probably
think he's
a good
way
thing.
worse than
I-
No,
broken
no.
clock.
I'm saying, I'm literally saying, I don't know. I'm saying that
The-
So basically, we won't know until
a few
later down the line.
Until we know.
A few details on the Boeing, in case you haven't read already. First of all, it's not one airplane; it's two airplanes. It's $3.9 billion. Nothing has been built yet. They haven't even started. They
There's
have
no
proposed.
contract. They
haven't even
there was
done
a
the research
proposi-
yet.
Yeah, there's kind of a proposal. This is basically a flying fortress that's designed to withstand a nuclear war, and you're supposed to rule the world from it for a while. And the kind of security measures that are involved in this are not even available. Nobody knows what they are. They're that secret and that advanced. We know that Boeing is not making money on it, you know, and it's two airplanes, and I think his tweet about it.
Yeah.
Could that be just a distraction technique?
No.
Like he's
I
used
think-
so
no,
many
it's-
times.
this is part of the bigger picture.
This is my theory though. The one thing that at least I'm willing to, and I'm not sure about the rest of the panel, I have the impression that nobody on the panel wants to give Trump any credit after having destroyed his opposition in the Republican Party and then having
no
won the fucking
bank
election.
would give him credit. How do you expect us to fucking give him credit?
The one thing that he can do is, again, manipulate the populace.
No, the one thing he can do is, in his mind, make deals. He has approached
I don't think
every
he-
single thing
I don't even think
since
he
the election
truly
as
believes
a
that.
deal.
I truly
But he's
don't
not,
think he
with
believes
respect,
that.
he's not
But it's
making
not.
deals.
No,
The
actually, you
carrier-
guys are saying the same thing because you're talking about him being able to manipulate people, making a deal. He's making deals to manipulate people. You guys are kind of saying the same thing.
He said
Yeah,
today
but
that his
with-
job was to look at these deals the country was making and get the companies to come down on their prices. He thinks he's there to look at the financial aspects of the country. That's what he thinks.
It's a populist move, to say the least, because he's not even going to benefit from this Air Force One.
No.
He's not going to fly on
Exactly.
it.
He's doing it because he thinks that's what people want. Is
unless
to
he has a
have him look at
second
few
mandate,
deals.
he's not going to get to be on that Air Force One because it takes 4 to 5 years.
Right.
Also, the current Air Force One is designed to work until 2020. You know, so it's a clearly populist move.
As with deals, if we take Carrier, for instance, which got a lot of press last week, the MD or the chief executive Carrier says, excuse me, he said what afterwards? No, he's talking out of his arse. That is what the chief executive of the company that owns Carrier said.
Right.
And in fact, it's not 2,000 jobs. 1,000 jobs are going. 700 jobs are being kept, and another 300 are being given the option of moving to other carrier places, which was going to happen anyway, and only one line will remain in wherever it was. The rest is going to Mexico as per. They just couldn't very well say no to
It's
But
like,
this is the
Trump
difference.
turning up. The
This is the
Japanese guy, right? You saw big pictures of lots of the little Japanese banker.
He's
there.
a Japanese Trump, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy, complete bollocks. Complete bollocks. The deal was
Can you
agreed
describe what
ages.
bollocks is for the
Yes,
Americans?
It was kangaroo balls, and this deal was agreed months and months and months ago. Has nothing whatsoever to do with Trump. It's just that the guy is a senior banker and wanted to meet Trump. That's all that was about. Trump was saying, "I've done this, I've done that." It's complete bollocks.
I'll tell you what's really embarrassing is the boasting of it. He needs to create 20,000 jobs in the United States a month to match what Obama's has done for the last 2 years.
Hold on.
Every
I don't know
month
if
he
you've
needs
heard.
to create 20,000 jobs to match Obama. And have you heard Obama tweeting, "Oh my God, look at me! I saved 700 jobs." Have you heard this? You know what this is the equivalent of? You know how the guys on Michigan's team. When Chris Webber and Juwan Howard, when they would dunk and they would go "Wah!" and they would smack and go crazy and scream. It's the equivalent of one of them making a free throw and going screaming and high-fiving.
No. And this is, for me, this is the important thing. When I say Trump is manipulating people, that's what I'm talking about. That boasting maneuver.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's been successful, if he's been not
very much
successful.
so.
All that counts is that he keeps his social status up here.
But
Isn't
he
it wrong
uses,
to
he
say
uses
that
the,
he reminds
uses
me-
the deal that he made to manipulate people.
But I don't think he does.
No,
But
he
the
advertises
deal-
it like, I made
Yes.
this deal, I just saved all of these jobs.
But he didn't make the deal.
I know,
didn't.
But he lies about it.
in
You know he
in
lies.
his egotistical world, he believes that he did.
See, that's the part where I disagree. I don't think he's dumb enough to think that he actually made the deal. I think that he's smart enough to realize that it doesn't matter if you make the deal or not.
I would say it's kind of a combination of both of those.
I think the
Okay.
bottom line is that there are millions and millions of Americans who don't care. And I think
Fuck
I
them.
think that the difference between the elites,
Sleep
if
tight.
you like, the liberal Democrat elites, and the folks who just simply don't understand Hillary Clinton, what she's saying, and people like that, and they say Hillary is doing the
How
reason
dare
you
she
see
have
the
education?
Hillary is going the
How
reason you
dare
see that
she?
we have to do this is yada 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 yada. Trump says I'll get your jobs back. Full stop. That's all he said. That's why they went for him. And when they discover that he can't perform, that's where we're going. You've been listening to Wednesday Night Undressed. Fortunately, I can't guarantee that there have been no photographs or filming in the room tonight.
Oh, I was filming,
Don't
baby.
forget, we will consider requests for discussion on the show. And Lewis, Dr. Lewis, you can tell us where do people, if they want to email the show or what have you, where would they do that?
They can email me at lewisorlando@wednesdaynightundressed.com.
Dr. Lewis Orlando?
No
Just
doctor.
Louis Orlando.
Just Louis Orlando.
You're not a doctor?
Well,
I
I'm
thought
not
you
on
were
my
a doctor.
email address.
I thought you were a love doctor.
Well, I had
Wow,
to stop
that's what he
saying that
tells
after
you.
the high school found out. So.
Okay. So I want to thank the lovely Kathleen Evo for his inventions and interventions and other things beginning with Ian, Dr. Orlando, and of course Tyler. Want to thank our producer Neil Rasmussen and editor Eric Holcomb,
Oh my God.
or even the engineer
What the?
Neil Rasmussen, who actually comes from an old Scandinavian family that used to go off looking for the middle of the earth.
They call the
Tom
oofdas.
Conroy, of course, for letting us do this every week. Do come and try his steak fries. I think I've had too many ginger beers. And for running probably the coolest proper pub in the region. From me, your host, Jeremy Taylor, thanks for joining in. And don't forget to check into our shows live on KLWN 1320, particularly on Friday and Saturday mornings, where they are more than ordinarily fantastic. You can hear Evo on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. Shall I stop now? I'll keep going.
Stop, please.
Producers, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Yay!